real estate with a purpose, not just building homes, but communities and generational wealth. What's hot today? Is Kimberly Horner of Portland Community Reinvestment Initiatives, an organization transforming lives through affordable housing and home ownership. Let's welcome Kimberly Horner. Welcome to What's Hot with Jen Scott podcast. You, Kimberly Horner, are What's Hot today.
Woo!
Oh
I
my
love
God.
it.
I am so glad to hear that you are helping to restore the historic Black community in Portland, Oregon.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
explain your work and why and its importance to us.
Absolutely. So, I know a lot of states have a past history with gentrification and redlining and all of the things that really happen to people of color. But Portland and Oregon in general is, I think, a little bit more so than any other state that I've actually encountered. In fact, some people, if they look at their old titles, property titles, um, there's information in that document that really speaks to the fact that you can't sell to Black people or people of color. So there's been a history in Oregon that is very, very unique, and almost more so than any other state that I've actually heard of. Many, many years ago, the Black community moved in droves to Portland for opportunity, and that was to work primarily in 1942 in the shipyards in the effort to help the war efforts back in 1942 all the way through about 1946. So people from the South migrated to Oregon in order to have opportunity. And at some point in time, they were moved into areas where there was flooding, and that people refer to it as the Vanport flood. So,
Hmm.
this flood, after all the work that the folks did to help in the shipyards and work on the ships to build ships during this war effort, as that sort of tailored down, there was a flood that is referred to, as I just mentioned, the Vanport flood, that really pushed a lot of these families out of the location that they lived in. And it was the only location that they were allowed to live in back in the 1940s when they came for this opportunity. From there, they moved into what is considered to be northeast Portland, the Albina district, where a lot of families really wanted to start over and put roots down in Portland in this very northeast neighborhood. From there, a lot of things happened that really required families to move out of the area. And one of the things that happened was the city made way for a stadium to be built. They made way for roadways to come through these Black neighborhoods. And they also made way for a hospital. And there is one development in particular that my organization is working on, and my organization is the Portland Community Reinvestment Initiatives. We go by the acronym PCRI because we were very instrumental in trying to keep Black folks in the neighborhoods that they were originally pushed out of. There's one project that we are working on. It's called the Williams and Russell neighborhood. And that is a development where we will serve as the affordable housing nonprofit that's building a housing development. And this housing development is a multifamily rental complex that we're developing. But in the meantime, the pad that this development sits on the land was taken away from Black families so that they could make way for Legacy Hospital. Legacy Hospital indicated that they needed all of this land to build this hospital, And so the city helped use eminent domain to take land away from families. And this all happened back in the 1970s.
Wow.
Yeah, so recently the hospital decided that it was time to release the land back to the community. And this was all done after a lot of protesting by the Black community in Portland, insisting that the hospital do better and bring this land back into the hands of the Black community. So a Community Development Commission, a CDC, was formed so that they could receive the land from the hospital, and there was a request for proposals that were released so that qualified developers could come in and develop this land. So our organization got involved with some other Black organizations, and we said, we're going to lead this development. So there was a group called Audrey, which is a Black-owned female developer who led a team of us through the development process so that we could put home ownership units on the land. The land will also have a rental component, which is what my organization is working on. And my very dear friend, who is the president of the Williams and Russell CDC. Her name is Azalea Renfield. She is overseeing the site development with the other Black female developer that's putting us all together. But
So,
that's just a little bit of the history of
yeah,
Portland.
for you manage 2,000 housing units. That's
Yeah, so our organization back in 1992 was established as a result of a mortgage company giving very, very bad mortgages to communities of color and lower income residents. The mortgage company would get people into housing. They would tell them that they needed to fix all the code violations first, and then the families would save their money to correct the code violations that were resting on the property. And then the mortgage company would come through and have a big balloon payment, and the families would end up losing their homes because they couldn't afford to do both the code corrections and then this big balloon payment that
mm,
the mortgage company set them up with.
mm,
So an attorney came along with the city of Portland, and the city of Portland said, okay, we need to put an end to this. They went after this mortgage company. The mortgage company got charged with racketeering and fraud. Those folks went to jail, and then there were
mm.
several hundred homes that had to get.
When did that take place?
This all happened in 1992.
Oh, wow, that was not okay. Mm,
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. So
mm,
this all happened around 1992, and there was an attorney that was hired by the city who just started off in the field of law. His name is Ernest Warren. He was able to sue the mortgage company and claw back 350 single family homes that would go into the hands of an affordable housing nonprofit. And that affordable housing nonprofit was named the Portland Community Reinvestment Initiatives, PCRI. So that's how we got started, by taking in 350 single family homes that were going to be lost to a foreclosure process.
mm,
Some of the other Black families were able to work with Ernie, and he was able to sue and get those homes back to their original owners. But there were about 350 that were actually going to be lost. So
mm,
that's how our organization got started. And we own and operate to this day 350 single family homes in Northeast Portland, so that lower income community members, particularly the Black community, because we are a Black led organization and have a Black following, those are the residents that we're trying to keep in Northeast Portland. Otherwise, they'd be priced out at this point in time.
mm. Okay. And so I understand, well, I'm sure you probably agree with me on this too, because I'm a real estate agent.
Mhm.
Home ownership is a powerful tool to generational wealth. Tell us your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. So, along the way, as the organization developed its stability and stabilizing the residents in Northeast Portland, we really grew the portfolio, and we now own and operate 2,000 doors. In
Oh,
addition to that, we have a home ownership program. So, we have HUD certified counselors on staff that will get people trained up to be mortgage ready. We also get them trained up to be ready for foreclosure should that actually happen. And then we have another program, it's called an IDA program, Individual Development Account, where we match for every dollar that they put in, we match it by between $3 and $5. So it's a good way for people to become super savers and start saving for down payment assistance. We are a home ownership center, so anyone that's looking for home ownership opportunities can come to us through the state. But we also have a development arm, and our goal is to build, it's called Pathway 1000. And
mm,
our goal is to develop 1,000 units in a 10-year time span. So, of that 1,000 units, 200 will be for rent and the other 800 for home ownership. So, we're very interested in making sure that members of the community have an opportunity to gain traction in generational wealth building. And that's what this organization does. And this guiding document that we have that's called Pathway 1000, and
mhm.
this is what it looks like. It's an implementation plan to help us guide people through home ownership. So we work with general contractors and other people who are in the trades to help us get these units built. And that will bring about 860 million into the local economy. But the main goal is to give people an opportunity that have been historically displaced and locked out of homeownership opportunities a fighting chance to get into a place that they can call home.
All right. And so, how is your program different from the typical home buying process that someone would go through?
Ours is different in that we meet people at where they're at. We train them to really look at how they're spending patterns are, how the Black community traditionally doesn't get represented by mortgage companies in ways that they really need to. So if the mortgage company says, you need to bring in this much money annually, and let's look at where you're falling short, we know that our community is sometimes helping Aunt Lulabelle who doesn't really show up on our tax documents, but we know that we're helping Aunt Lulabelle because there's no one else to help her.
Mm.
So for the Black community, our spending habits and patterns are much different than the average and our white counterparts. And unfortunately, these are the areas that we work with our clientele to make sure that they understand there's got to be a point in time where you and work with Aunt Lulabelle so that she's financially sufficient so that you can start moving into a home ownership opportunity.
What do you see first-time home buyers, what mistakes do you see them making?
First time home buyers, a lot of times the mistakes that they make are spending when they should be saving. So they might start the work with working with a mortgage company, but then someone will entice them into buying a shiny new car or helping another family member by using their credit card and getting overextended that way. So those are some of the challenges that occur in our community because we're a tight knit community and we know we need to help our other family members stay solvent. but sometimes that does interrupt our ability to become the super saver that we need to be.
Yeah, so are you aware of any other programs around the country that are similar to yours?
I would say that our organization is very unique. It is probably one of the largest Black-led organizations that is doing this type of work because not only, like I mentioned, owning the 350 single-family homes, there probably is not another Black organization that owns that many single-family homes. And then we own about another 12 apartment complexes. Some of those have close to 70 to 100 units within those apartment complexes. So it's a very large entity that we're running. We also have commercial properties. So it's a big enterprise. We probably have over 500 million in assets, which
Mhm.
is a very unique thing for a Black affordable housing nonprofit to have so many assets.
Yes, it is. It is. And that's what I was just wondering, because I know everybody can't move to Portland, but
Yeah.
mhm.
So, there are other organizations that do this work. Habitat is a good organization to look to if you want to get into home ownership. Your local city housing authority can direct you to where there are home ownership opportunities and really getting in with people like you, Janet, that can really help point the way as
Yeah,
a real estate person.
right.
Pointing people where good, solid investment opportunities exist is really an important part of the work that I'm sure you're doing.
Absolutely. Now, let me just ask you this as a health and wellness person, I have to ask you, with everything you manage, how do you personally recharge yourself? How do you take care of your self-care?
My background is in kinesiology,
Hmm.
and therefore, health and wellness is very important to me, keeping the body moving. Prior to me coming to Portland, I was a big yoga enthusiast, and I was doing yoga for at least 45 minutes in a classroom setting a day for years on end. And I believe that keeping the mind and body moving and healthy is very important when you're working in times that are extremely stressful because we're also a developer. So we build from the ground up. We just broke ground on 12 units of home ownership, and we just finished building an apartment complex for what we call permanent supportive housing for folks that are needing wraparound services to go along with their housing needs. But I also meditate. And before I step into the doors of our office, I kind of ground myself and tell the universe to help me make the best decisions for the people that we serve, because that's what the work really is all about, is serving people in a way that helps them meet the needs of their goals and objectives and to really meet them where they're at in their life too.
One last question. Rent or home ownership? Which one do you lean towards?
As a developer, I would tell you home ownership. It is cheaper for people to move into home ownership than it is to build apartment complexes. Even though it's affordable housing, it is still at least $465,000 to build a unit that's inside an apartment complex. So if you have an apartment complex that has 70 units, 70 times $465,000, that's very expensive. It's cheaper for us and for really the state of Oregon to build home ownership units than it is to build apartment complex. Home ownership all the way, it gives people a chance to do what we talked about earlier, which is generational wealth building.
Yes, yes. And then not just that, but sometimes apartments can cost more than double what your mortgage would be.
Correct. And that's really the other big issue. to rent in Oregon, it's at a minimum $1,500 a month for a one bedroom. But if you were to apply that to a mortgage, be in your own little two-bedroom house sometimes.
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
Less than that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, Kimberly Horner, it has been a pleasure to speak with you and
And
hear.
I can't wait. I mean, you are like very gorgeous. So I am just, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
For you to ask me what I do to keep myself grounded and moving and all of those things, I'm looking at you as the role model of beauty.
Well, I'll tell you what, I do all the above, what you just said, prayer, meditation, and then, of course, I've gained some weight, so
Me
I'm looking
too.
at losing that because moving across country just sort of took me to another level, but that's another
Oh,
story. So, but
well, you
anyway, yes, it's been wonderful speaking to you, and your work is incredible. Keep up the good work.
thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it.